As Croydon Vineyard, our financial year runs from March to February. So today we're doing a bit of a longer family business notice slot than normal to tell you about money, as it is February and the weather has turned, which we're all very cheerful about. As we've grown so much as a church, we keep trying to learn how to do these things well for the size we are. And we hope to get this right today. If you're a guest here today, or if it's your first time, we love that you're here. We don't want you to feel embarrassed at all by us talking about money. If you're a guest, especially if you're sure you're not a Christian, we just want to say up front, there's absolutely no expectation for you to give us any money. We have a God, a Father God, who has very large and very deep pockets, so we absolutely aren't putting out a begging bowl. But equally, we're God's people, and we know that he invites all of us into the freeing joy of generous giving, of painting the glorious image of Jesus through the use of our money. So as an introduction, you may know that as a church, we spend money on two things. We pay staff members to equip the church for works of good service, and we spend money on ministry to the poor. So as a church, we employ the following people. Tom and I are senior pastors. My battery's dying. Do we need to spend some money on batteries? Is that better? Oh, this is the one that makes me, sound booming. Hello. So as a church, we employ the following people. Oh, I need to keep it a bit quieter. I tend to shout, sorry. Tom and I are senior pastors. Phil Greaves, where's Phil Greaves? Yeah, he oversees integration and small groups. Phil Merriman. Where are you, Phil? Yeah, stand up, give us a wave. So Phil does a day a week overseeing worship. Tina Armstead, who's not here today, does 2.5 days a week managing our admin. Stop talking over me, you two. I'm also in charge of discipline. Doesn't really work very well. Here's Andy. Give us a wave, Andy. He oversees youth and communications and also works a day a week in our English school. Caroline oversees our work in the community. We love, and I'll introduce Graham in a minute. We love these guys and we so appreciate their work. As a church, you fund their employment so they can serve you. And we have to tell you, they work really hard for you, and every one of them does an amazing job, and it's an honor to work with them. Oh, that deserves a round of applause. But equally deserving a round of applause is Graham Bright here, who voluntarily gives time as our church treasurer. Let's give him a clap. So we thought it would be most helpful for you guys to hear a bit from Graham. So hopefully he's got the working microphone. Graham, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do for the church? Do you want to stand up? Oh, is that better? Or sitting down? Either way. Yeah. Tell us a bit about yourself and what you do for the church.
Okay, so can everyone hear me? Morning, everyone. Okay, so I'm not part of this leadership team.
It's working.
Oh, okay. All right, so we also have another team, which is the Board of Trustees for our church, and we function alongside the church leadership, and our role is slightly different because, as you know, we don't exist in spiritual world only. We come under laws of this country, and we are constituted both as a charity and also a limited company. So there is a whole load of compliance that we have to work through, and as trustees, what we try to do is to support our leadership team in all that they're doing by making sure that we're working within the framework of the laws of this country, making sure that we're thinking through all the risks that are covered in what we're doing, just to make sure that we have a standard of excellence in what we're doing. So there's 7 of us on the trustees, and at the moment, I think, and we meet quarterly, but it's, I meet regularly with Tom, Andy, these guys. Just, it's a living thing, so we're not just kind of standing back. We're working together, supporting each other. For me personally, so my role is the financial director, the treasurer, so I'm kind of making sure that we file accounts on time, that we prepare our accounts, that we collect as much money back as we can from my employer, the tax man, making sure that we have a budget, that we actually understand where we are with our money and how we might work that going forward to achieve what we want to do. So it's quite a busy life at the moment. So I've only been doing it 6 months, and it's been a busy time.
Been a busy time. You've done a great job, Graham. Thank you. So our financial year ends in February. Could you just share a little bit about where we are at? Croydon Vineyard's financial year ends in February. Tell us a little bit about where we are financially and where you'd like to see us in the next year.
Okay.
Next financial year.
That's 2 questions in one there. I might park that second bit just for a moment. Okay, so we don't have these days very often at all, but it is really good to kind of just give you some headlines and give you a little bit of understanding of how our money is, our reserves, and what housekeeping looks like for us as a church. So as Leslie said, we are just coming up to our financial year end of February, and this will be our 6th year since we started. So where have we got to in that time? And we don't just think about 1 year, but we're on a journey. And over that 6 years, we exist literally by the donations that you guys give. So any money that's come in and where we are today is a testimony to your giving. What does that look like in numbers now? So 3 years ago when I joined, well, not even 3 years ago when I joined the church, the income for the year was £85,000. I'm pretty confident in saying this year, which is 4 days away from finishing, we're going to be up there at £190,000. So, we've seen the growth in the people, we've seen the growth in the giving, and, it's thanks to you guys. And if you want to think 190,000 in people, just look around the church. It's you guys. So, and I have to say from both leadership teams, it's a great thank you. It's a testimony of where we've got to and what God has done through us in that time. It's not all been plain sailing. It's not smooth. It goes up and down. In fact, the 4th year, after it was 85,000, it went up big, and then it went down the next year. But we're on an increase again. So, there are challenges. You don't always know how much money. It's not smooth. So, pray for us that we can respond to God as it happens. So, what does it mean for us day to day? Do we balance our books? Are we struggling? Can we afford chocolate biscuits and stuff like that? So the honest answer, we're about covering our way at the moment. We have made a deliberate decision over the last 18 months, and we're going to carry that on, that we should spend a little bit of the reserves that we've accumulated as part of a go and grow strategy. And we've seen a lot of fruit from that, and we just feel it's right. We carry on with that. And I'm sure that's part of our coming into this facility. It's all part of God's enabling us and supporting us to do that growing. So we do have money in the bank. Don't worry that we can't pay our way. We was able to meet the needs of moving from St Andrews to St Mary's without pressurising anybody or forcing anybody to give more. We just suddenly needed, was it £11,000? So we was able to do that without pressure, which was really good. Just a little bit more flesh on the bone. Where do we spend the money? So as Leslie's given some of that, just over half of the money, probably about 60% does go on payroll cost. But I change the word. It's not payroll cost, we're payroll investment. So when we talk about what we're spending, all the money is being filtered and invested into what God's doing. And these guys are doing ministry. We're not just paying their bills. These guys give all their time, and we're doing the work of God for the church. So we also give money to the wider vineyard network. We have accommodation to pay. a myriad of sort of day-to-day household bills that we have to pay. So we're just about covering our way, but we have made a decision that, we may spend a little bit more than is coming in at the moment. But I feel, the Go and Grow is really coming through for us.
Great, brilliant. Thank you,
So,
Graham.
I'll just say the last thing really. I've been so blessed the last couple of weeks by the teaching that we've had, and it's numbers, isn't it? But it needs to become real for us, and I'm gonna single him out again. I love the chocolate milkshake analogy that Phil gave a couple of weeks ago, and giving is just one part of what we're doing. So,
That's great, thank you. Brilliant. Let's give him a clap. Yeah, it's hard to stand up here and talk in front of so many people. So talking about numbers, some of us love numbers. So in the last year, we've seen God use your investment for some great stuff. So I'm going to share some numbers with you. Each week, we've seen 250 to 300 people at our Sunday services. So we have mornings and evenings. We've had 140 noughts to 18s who we think would call Croydon Vineyard their home. There's been 70 at Vineyard English School, 20 to 25 at a Discovery Bible study. We have 5 to 10 refugees each week at Hello UK. 135 adults in 18 discipleship groups, small groups, which is amazing. And we think Street Cafe has meaningful conversations with Jesus with at least about 10 people each week. So in a year, 500 people encountering Jesus and his people on the streets. We love this stuff and we want to see more of it. But behind each of these numbers is people. So I'm going to ask Caroline to stand up next. Caroline, you look after our work in the community. Last year we spent £20,000 on our work in the community through Vineyard English School and Hello UK, etc. We can see from the numbers that will be making an impact on Croydon. Can you tell us a couple of stories about what the Lord has been doing in the community in the last year?
Yeah, so I just love stuff that goes on in the week. Church isn't just Sundays. So all of the stuff that we do in the community is just, whether it's Vineyard English School, where we're teaching English to people of other languages, or Hello UK, reaching out to asylum seekers, or Street Cafe, anything like that. It's just entry points to meet people where they're at in the middle of their week on the street, and it's just brilliant. So we just want to point people towards Jesus. So that's the main aim of all the stuff in the week. I've got 2 stories, one from Hello UK. So we do a lot of stuff with asylum seekers because Croydon is home to the Home Office, and we are privileged enough to have some initial accommodation here. So we meet people in their first days in the UK, whether they've just gotten off a dinghy, whether they've come on a truck and been hidden, however they have got here. They might have spent years trying to get to this country, and it is just such a privilege to worship God by meeting with people who are like that, who I just want to cry every time I go there. And yeah, I do. So one story that's been going on is a couple of years ago, or a year and a half, we met a lady who was heavily pregnant, and she was invited to some things at church. She was given a lift here. She got to know us, and she got to know Yvonne and Gary in particular. Yvonne runs Hello UK. So she got to know her, but they started to just do life together. They would go to Pizza Hut, they'd go to different places, go to Yvonne's home, and she just welcomed her into her family. Anyway, this lady had her baby, and Yvonne was her birth partner, and that just really became such a strong friendship that Yvonne is kind of grandma now to this little baby. They've since moved to dispersal accommodation in a different town, but this lady has given her life to Jesus. She's stuck in a local church. It doesn't matter that it's not Croydon Vineyard. God's church is everywhere, and it's just so exciting that she's part of the church. She's given her life to Jesus, and for me, well, I've got a verse here. So it just sums up what she did. She just modelled the expression of the kingdom of God, of adopting this lady into her family in the same way that God adopts us into his family. So we would love more team. Leslie said we have 5 to 10 asylum seekers that we reach each week. Actually, there's a whole dining room full of maybe 50, 60 people there. So the more team we have each week, we can just have one-to-one talks. Every week there's an opportunity to give someone a Bible, share the good news, pray for somebody, and play Connect 4. It's brilliant.
Stop recruiting, Caroline. Have you got another story?
I've got one more. I'd like to just read you something. This was written by a guy called John from China. You might know John. He's from China. He's in China at the moment looking after his dad, who's quite poorly. But he's a big part of Croydon Vineyard now, and he came in 3 years ago through the English classes. He's since, I'll read you what he says anyway. So he says, I love Vineyard English School because it's very helpful. It helped a lot in many parts of my life. For example, my language skills, meeting friends, understanding the knowledge of life in the UK, and constructing my beliefs. Now I don't feel very nervous to talk with friends in English. And I have more friends. I think my English skills have improved a big step. I still enjoy reading Bible stories and sharing ideas with teachers and classmates after class. These stories can guide me in many situations. Now I go to Vineyard Church on Sunday to worship God, even though I'm not yet a Christian. I quite love our school and consider going to school an important part of my daily life. So John recognised, he inspires me in his respect for God. He has so much, he has so much reverence for God that he doesn't feel like he can pray to God and ask God for anything because God's so holy and so amazing. And so he then went on to do the Alpha course, and still by the end he hasn't committed his life. Like he says, I'm not yet a Christian, but we prayed for him. We said, well, can we ask God for something? Because we believe that God does care. And he said, okay, you can pray for my leg, because every time I walk up the stairs, it feels like really a lot of pain in my knees. So we prayed, and then most of the pain went. So we're just praying for him, and we want to see more people come through from the entry point of the English school and helping in practical ways, and then just welcoming them and pointing them towards Jesus and an open door to his kingdom.
That's great, Caroline. Thank you. So at Croydon Vineyard, we have about 40 11 to 18s on our books. And we know that a lot of commentators and sociologists say that it is really hard to be a Christian teenager in the UK at the moment amongst this time. It's just a really hard thing. So as a church, we felt Jesus calling us to make a step change in our involvement and investment in youth. As such, we have commissioned Andy. Stand up, Andy, let's give you a clap. Andy is going to be spending 2 days a week paid to reach more young people and help them to grow in their faith in Croydon and Croydon Vineyard and lead the team. So Andy, what are you seeing happen, and what do you want to see happen this year in the youth?
Okay, hello. Great to see you all. We've got a fantastic bunch of young people supported by a wonderful set of leaders. They are over in the other gym right now, putting on their own worship service. So they are doing absolutely everything. The young people are welcoming new young people, doing the cafe, worship band, tech team. I'm going to go back over and split the talk with how old's Emily, 14? 14-year-old girl. We're going to do the teaching together today. So it's just phenomenal. They're kind of knocking on our door saying, please find us a venue to do an evangelistic event. We want to do another evangelistic event. They're passionate, they enjoy themselves, and we're just loving seeing what's going on. So we just want to champion those guys. We want to put the best from among the church around them to mentor them, to raise them up. We've got the year sixes in there at the moment as well, who we're going to be bringing up in May, and we really want to bless those guys, pour into them, do everything that we can for them, because we do know that it's a tough age, but we also know it's an age of a massive opportunity. And in terms of what we want to see happen, there are 40,000 11s to 18s in this borough. 40,000 11s to 18s, and we know that investment from government services and from different things has been decimated over the last few years. So we really, really want to step in to that space as much as we can and see as many young people in this borough reached with the good news of Jesus, having a great time as we're doing it, getting them to do the stuff, getting them to pray for the sick, them to speak the word, them to weather hardship, them to see the Lord move in their schools and in their families. And just a couple of little stories very, very quickly. We've actually had a young girl, year 7, come in the last few weeks. She is at school here at St. Mary's, and she saw our signs. The family had been out of church for a little bit, so she came and said, "Mum, I've seen the signs." She's brought her family to church. So we want to see stuff like that happen more and more. And then a couple of our 11-year-olds, 11, 12-year-old boys took the challenge when we did Cry Out 24/7 prayer, and they signed up for an hour slot, and they found themselves praying for their schoolmates. And we did a bit of feedback, and how did you find the hour? Oh, really tough, really tough. Got to 20 minutes, I didn't know what else to say. And we were like, okay, did you see anything happen? And 12-year-old boy, he said, yeah, I found myself praying for one of my schoolmates because he's been having quite a tough time at the moment. So I was just praying for him. And okay, what happened? And he said, well, the next day my friend came to me at school and said, please, can you tell me about God? And all the other young people were like, really? That's what happens. We love seeing the young people do the stuff. We want to see them blessed, to be a blessing to the young people around them, and to see stuff change in this borough for the 11s to 18s along with everyone else.
That's great. Thank you, Andy. So we love that Jesus has been building his church in Croydon. We love what he's doing. And we just want to thank him for that. Let's give a minute just to thank him. Let's thank Jesus for what he's been doing. Because he deserves the biggest clap, doesn't he? Always working, and he's got to go off and give his preach now. So we love what Jesus has been doing, building his church in Croydon, but we don't want to stop. In fact, we want to press on, and we believe this is just the beginning. Jesus has called us to bring all of Croydon to life, and Croydon has 400,000 people in it. And so, we're inviting you today to consider whether you want to give to us being able to reach more people in Croydon and to bring them to life in Jesus. More of what's already been going on. And what does that mean? Well, you are a good and faithful and generous people. More than 130 of you are serving on teams and ministries. That's an amazing number. Many of you are giving money regularly, and we want to ask you to keep on doing that. In Galatians 6 verse 9, Paul says, let us not become weary of doing good because of what is good, because at the proper time we'll reap a harvest if we do not give up. But we also want to see growth in what we're doing, and we're looking for a 10% increase in regular giving. This means that some of you may start to give regularly to Croydon Vineyard if you don't already. It may mean some of you who are already giving choose to give a little bit more. We know many of us don't have much money. We know that, it's a reality. But we also have no doubt that if each of us gives what we can give, and more importantly, the amount that the Holy Spirit is telling us to give, then we'll have more than enough. In addition to regular giving, we've decided today to ask any who feel prompted to give a one-off gift, so we've talked about that already, to invest in a legacy of growth for Croydon. So what do we mean by this? Well, we have a desire to make a step change in our ministry in Croydon, in how we demonstrate the undeservedly generosity of the love of Jesus in our town. We feel this is the right next step to enhance and push into the mission that Jesus has given us. So 3 things. First, We would love to be able to acquire some kind of building to act as a permanent, week-long door for people who don't know Jesus to be able to step towards him. We want to be able to build more meaningful relationships with more people in Croydon who don't know him yet. Secondly, we'd love to invest more in youth, both in reaching young people and discipling those who are coming towards us. And thirdly, we want to invest in the raising up of leaders who can play significant roles in the leadership of Jesus' church that goes beyond our gatherings here at St. Mary's. All these three things cost money. For example, a building that could be used for community engagement or for youth would cost at absolute minimum $500,000. Investing in leaders and paying them to start new congregations or new outreach ministries costs money. So we've been asking you to think about giving a one-off sum this morning to invest in this. So I'm going to invite Phil Greaves up now, and he's going to come and tell you how we can do that. And Caroline and Graham, I think you can be relieved of duty.
Yeah, well done, everybody. Good morning. We want to try. We've worked a little bit hard this week trying to make it as easy as we can for you guys to engage and join in with this, to give. We recognise that there's a whole scale of people's where you're at financially. Some of you have a big pot of gold in the bank and you're ready to just release it. Some of you are scratching together the last pennies just to feed yourselves and your families every week, and we understand that. So please hear us. There's no pressure on anybody. The Bible says that the Lord loves a cheerful giver. And as I said the other week, Jesus, when he saw the poor widow just putting a coin in, he said she gave more than the one that put in bags of money, because they gave out of their wealth and it didn't mean much to them. And I read this morning, and then Endurance, I just wanted to share this very quickly. Endurance also said it as we were praying before the service. King David, when he was to bring an offering before the Lord, somebody said, well, look, take one of my cows and you can go and offer that as a sacrifice. And David said, no, I will not do that. I'm going to pay for it, because I will not give to the Lord an offering that has cost me nothing. And I think that's our challenge to ourselves and to you, is give in a way that you notice. Give in a way that it hurts a bit, that it's uncomfortable, that you need to make a lifestyle change about it, because this is what the Lord wants. He's given to us whatever we have in our possession, but it's all from him, and he wants just to see our hearts give a portion of that back to him. So that would be our challenge to you today. So you'll see on your chairs or chairs near you, there's some of these cards, a pledge form. And what we're going to do is in a moment, we're going to just take a couple of minutes before Tom comes up to speak a bit more. We'd encourage you to fill out a card. And so you could fill out a card. You may have come prepared today knowing already off the back of 2 weeks of teaching what you'd like to give and what you've decided. So if you're ready to do that today, if you've got cash with you or check with you or whatever, or bank details with you, great. So we'd love you to fill out the card and tick one of the boxes. I pledge to give to the Go and Grow vision in the following way: a one-off donation now. So that might be doing that. And we're going to, I think hopefully we've got a slide we can stick on the screen. Through the website, the Croydon Vineyard website, you can go to the Give option on there, and that will take you to a link where you can fill out some details to give, and hopefully they'll stick that on the screen as well. So you could do that right now from your phone if you want to. If you want to do it when you get home or later on, then you can tick the box that says a one-off donation later, or maybe you're thinking at the end of the month when I know that I've got sufficient money in the bank or whatever. Or it might be that I just don't have any reserves in the bank at the moment from which to give. But I think if I start to make some changes to my lifestyle and just tighten the belt a little bit, then I might be able to spare some extra every month. And so you could tick that box to give on a regular basis. Maybe that's weekly if you get paid weekly, or fortnightly, or even monthly. So there are different ways you can do it. If you are a taxpayer in the UK, you pay tax through your work, then please tick the box on the pledge form to say that. And we'll have some forms. I don't know that we've got many today, but next week as well. If you're not already filled out a form for gift aiding with the church, please put it there. It would be really helpful if you could fill out these cards. This is a pledge. This is like a promise before God right now. We don't want you to do it lightly. We don't want you to write something down and then not follow through on it. If you're not really sure what you feel right now, then just hold back. But just be sure in your heart, you know what you're going to do when you make a choice. And for us, we've got a little bit we can do now, and we think if we make some changes in our life, we could do a bit more regularly. So we're going to tick 2 boxes on our card. Everybody will be different. So it would be useful if what would be really helpful actually is if you intend to put some cash in today, and you're a taxpayer. It'd be really good if you could stick a hand up if you'd like an envelope. We can stick it in an envelope. We'll put that in the bucket. I think Sarah and Sahara maybe are going to hold some buckets at the front. And then we'd love you all, anyone that's going to make a pledge today, to bring up your card in a minute. Maybe you guys could play for us if you play through a song or so while everybody just takes a couple of minutes to do this. If you'd like an envelope, stick a hand up. For cash, otherwise you can just put your card in the bucket in a minute. Thank you.